Bold and the beautiful. Thomas targets Brooke. Is she in danger? Bold and the beautiful sees Thomas Forrester back in town and more determined than ever to keep his parents together. That means trouble for Brooke Logan. But the question is, how bad will it be? Bold and the beautiful. The Logan family's conspiracy against Taylor Hay, Katie Logan, and Eric Forrester, who's an honorary Logan at this point. If you think about it, doesn't Taylor deserve someone in her corner fighting for her as much as Donna, Katie, and Eric are fighting for Brooke? If you think about it that way, then you see that there's a point to bringing Thomas back, especially with Steffi Forrester gone, and especially since Ridge Forrester continues to waffle in the middle between these two women, just ruining everybody's lives. Thomas Forrester's personal struggles and reunion with Taylor. We have found out more since Thomas came back home to LA about what's going on in his personal life. Honestly, it's no wonder his first stop was to see his mom, Taylor, in her office at the hospital. He needed some comfort, too. She and Thomas had a really nice little reunion moment. They caught up, and Taylor told Thomas that Brooke was interfering with her engagement to Ridge. But Thomas still doesn't realize the full extent of how much Ridge is part of the problem, because he's the biggest part. Taylor doesn't realize that either, at least not yet. Brooke knows, Ridge knows, and the Logans know. Bold and the beautiful. Thomas confronts Ridge after a shocking discovery. Thomas's next stop was to go over and see his dad at Forrester Creations. Thomas was stunned to see Brooke in Ridge's arms, and Thomas wasn't happy about it, which makes sense because as far as he knows, his parents are happily engaged. Then he walks in on what looks like some cheating. Thomas directly asked his daddy Ridge Forrester if the wedding to Taylor is still on. Thomas told Ridge, "Don't break Taylor's heart again, because the whole family is counting on you." What's whack about that is that Ridge basically reassured Thomas that things are fine, and that he's not going to mess up things. It's already happened. Why Thomas Forrester is obsessed with Ridge and Taylor's marriage. We found out more about why Thomas is back in LA because he was telling his dad why he really needs the closure, or togetherness, of Ridge and Taylor getting married. Part of that is because Thomas's own engagement is off. He and Paris Buckingham, Diamond White, are done. Thomas said he and Paris broke up and that her family is trouble. All of them. He's not wrong, especially since her mom, Grace Buckingham, Cassandra Creech, pulled that horrible con on Liam Spencer, Scott Clifton, and Bill Spencer, Don Diamont. Plus, Thomas said he and Steffi watched Ridge hurt Taylor for years, which is absolutely true. They don't like that. They don't want it for their mom. Thomas on a mission to stop Brooke. So, Thomas was telling Ridge that the whole reason he's back is to make sure Brooke doesn't get her hooks in Ridge and make him hurt Taylor again. Thomas also said after the split from Paris, he just doesn't know what his life is now, what his purpose is. He tells Ridge that he's feeling untethered. He's got no relationship, he's not working on a fashion line on Bold and the Beautiful. And his son Douglas Forrester, Henry Joseph Samory, is busy with his friends because he's at that age now. Unfortunately for Ridge, Thomas is hyper-focused on Taylor's happiness. Thomas told Ridge he'd better not trample on Taylor's heart again after she bounced back from the last crisis, which, as we all know, was the broken heart syndrome. Dark Thomas returns, confronting Brooke Logan. Ridge is worried, of course, because Thomas is very intent on making sure Ridge and Taylor get married and Brooke doesn't come between them. After seeing Ridge in Brooke's clutches up at the office, Thomas went to confront Brooke. Again, from Thomas's angle, I do think what he is doing is justified because his parents are happily engaged. As far as he knows, Ridge did not contradict that, and he saw them in what looked like a cheating situation. So, he went in there, and as Katie sat looking shocked, Thomas told Brooke, Ridge is marrying Taylor and Brooke better not try and come between them ever again. Katie was surprised. Brooke's jaw dropped, and then she was glaring. It definitely sounded like the guy we've seen from the past, Dark Thomas. Again though, think about his perspective. Think about what he's seeing. Brooke is seeing this through the lens of she and Ridge are basically reunited already because of what happened there. But that's not the reality for Thomas for Ridge right now who's waffling, and definitely not for Taylor. Is Brooke Logan in danger? Thomas's schemes unveiled. The big question is, should Brooke be afraid of what her former stepson might do to keep Ridge with Taylor and keep their marriage on track to happen? Can Brooke trust that Ridge won't waffle back to Taylor and ignore what happened with them in Italy? I don't know if Brooke can trust him or not. I could see Thomas plotting and scheming to make sure Brooke doesn't split his parents up. Bold and the Beautiful. Eric Forrester's hypocrisy, advising Ridge on Thomas. Later, Ridge was telling Eric about Thomas pressing him to marry Taylor. Eric said, "Don't let Thomas tell you what to do." Then it was huge irony because Eric was telling Ridge, "Don't let Thomas tell you what to do. Let me tell you what to do." Ridge realized that and told his dad, "It's the same thing you're doing." But Eric thinks it's okay when he does it because Eric thinks he knows what's best for Ridge. Thomas Forrester's dark side, a threat to Brooke Logan. Now that Thomas is out here looking for a purpose, I think he's going to find it, defending his mom from Brooke trying to take her man. But there is a red flag about Thomas's behavior that's already sketchy from the moment he returned to LA. When Taylor told Lee Finnegan, Naomi Matsuda, that Thomas is back and doing great now. They touched on his past issues, and Taylor said she would hate for Thomas to have a setback, but if he does, Taylor will be there for him. So, B&B might have been hinting and warning us that Thomas may lose the plot and go nuts if he finds out Ridge did indeed tell Brooke that he would dump Taylor and get back with her. Will Thomas go off the rails? I can absolutely see Thomas going after Brooke to make sure she's not a threat to Taylor's happiness with Ridge. Of course, I'm not suggesting Thomas will physically harm Brooke. That's not his pattern of behavior, like physically hurting her. Never say never, but it's not been his pattern of behavior. I think it's more likely Thomas does something to make Brooke look bad to Ridge. It wouldn't be the first time on Bold and the Beautiful. Years ago, he let Ridge think he and Brooke slept together to discredit her. More recently, Thomas, of course, framed Brooke for that CBS call that Thomas faked using Douglas' voice app. We all know Thomas can be ruthless, vindictive, and dark. With Paris out of his life and Hope Logan, Annika Noel, busy with 2 other guys, Thomas has got lots of energy to focus on making sure Brooke won't get in the way. Bold and the Beautiful. Brooke's peril, Thomas and Steffi's alliance against her. Let's be clear when it comes to Thomas. Yes, Brooke should be very worried. Not just because Thomas might target her directly, like he did in the past with the CBS call, but Brooke should also worry that Thomas could influence Ridge and push him to stick with Taylor. I'm sure Brooke realizes that this is serious, but I don't know if she understands how serious it is for him. I can also picture Thomas conspiring with Steffi to protect their mom, especially after the whole heart syndrome crisis. Steffi is going to be furious when she finds out Ridge promised Brooke a future after he fished her out of the water, hot on the heels of Ridge promising Steffi he'd never break Taylor's heart. The big question is, what could Thomas do to get Brooke away from Ridge? What was interesting was when Thomas confronted Ridge, he didn't have the nerve to tell his son he planned to dump Taylor. So honestly, I think Thomas's best case is just to intensify the pressure on Ridge and pile up that guilt. But all of that reminds me of that old Bonnie Raitt song, "I can't make you love me." That line, "I can't make you love me if you don't." If Ridge doesn't love Taylor the way he loves Brooke, nobody, not even Thomas, can make it happen. But I bet he's going to try.